Welcome to video 10. Let's talk about what we learned and failed to learn from the cocaine era. We should remember what was discovered over time from the excessive arrest and incarceration response to the crack cocaine epidemic. Mass incarceration harms communities because it separates far too large a share of residents, usually young men, away from their families and sends them to prison, often far away. This damages their future and undermines their families' trust in the system. To combat drugs, police must adopt a much more targeted approach and build frayed relationships with and trust, rebuild frayed relationships and trust with residents. That doesn't mean not punishing violent criminals and the most dangerous, but it does mean being more careful and targeted in the approach. Most communities agree. They oppose mass arrests. They also understand the damage drugs do and want drug markets eliminated. How to do it is the question. For decades, drug enforcement was built around a simple idea or hope. Make arrests, send drug dealers and users to prison, and drug markets will dissipate. But drug markets don't react that way after these types of arrests. Arresting low-level drug dealers, drug users, or user dealers with a minor role in drug markets have a very small role in leading to the elimination of drug markets. In fact, this type of approach creates churn. People are arrested, but often these low-level offenders are quickly replaced and the drug market goes on. That approach did enormous damage during the crack cocaine epidemic. It fueled mass incarceration, strained police-community relationships, and often saw drug markets regenerate in the same place or nearby where they operated previously. The question is not whether drug markets should be controlled. They must be. The question is how to do it without repeating the mistakes of the past. Smarter enforcement starts with understanding in detail how drug markets actually work. That means carefully mapping neighborhood drug markets, who is selling, who is buying, who is organized, and who is being exploited. With that in-depth information, police and community leaders can work together to develop an approach that pulls out of the drug market the most dangerous participants, the most violent criminals, the leaders of the organization, and avoids the cascading consequences and costs of mass arrests. Real progress depends on genuine collaboration. Police cannot do this alone, and communities will not support their efforts unless they know local police officers and trust their leaders. In practice, this means opening up lines of communication with community members and police so the police can explain what the strategy is, listen to their concerns, include them in their plans, and ask for their support and partnership. Police then have to systematically work to gather solid evidence of everyone involved in the local drug market, and then making clear distinctions. The most dangerous actors, organizers, violent dealers, repeat offenders are arrested and prosecuted. But lower level participants are given a different choice. Police invite them to a community meeting described as a call in. They are told they will not be arrested and are asked to bring a family member with them to these meetings. To ensure that the full voice of the community is present, others are invited. Pastors, parents of kids who have overdosed, former inmates who could share how incarceration damaged their lives, and social service providers. At these structured community meetings, these people who are involved with selling drugs are told directly, we know who you are and we know what you're doing. And this drug market is shutting down. They're offered a real opportunity to step away, to enter treatment, access social services, or take legitimate work with the clear understanding that continued drug dealing will result in swift arrest and certain punishment. This makes the deterrent threat of arrest, which is often distant, front and center. This approach does not tolerate drug markets. It ends them, and it does so with fewer arrests, less incarceration, reduced costs, and far less harm to communities. It requires more planning than simply arresting everybody, but it produces results that last. To support this recommendation, I propose $500 million a year to enable police departments and communities to work together on drug market disruptions without mass arrests in cooperation with communities. It's an investment that will pay off by reducing drug sales and related crime and making communities stronger. Precision enforcement must also be matched by precision in sentencing. For too long, drug sentences have been driven purely by the weight of drugs people are found with, not by behavior, role in an organization, or actual risk to public safety. That makes little sense. Those who organize drug markets, direct others, or use violence deserve serious consequences and long sentences. Their sentences should reflect the actual harm that they caused. But many people caught in drug cases are low-level couriers or, quote, user dealers, often driven by addiction, poverty, or coercion to play some minor role in a drug market. Justice systems must take the time to ensure the punishment fits the person's actual role, not just the amount of drugs involved when they're captured. And once someone has paid their debt, another reform becomes critical. People whose criminal behavior was tied to addiction, who complete treatment, follow supervision rules, and avoid new crimes should not face permanent barriers that make recovery extremely difficult. Without access to work and housing, too many relapse, reoffend, overdose, and die. That is not accountability, it's failure. Limited sentence expungement for those who demonstrate sustained recovery and lawful behavior is not a reward, it's a public safety strategy. It removes barriers to reintegration, reinforces good behavior, and gives people a real chance to rebuild their lives. When people earn a second chance and demonstrate that they deserve it, communities are safer and stronger. Previous videos focused on treatment and recovery within health systems. Chapter 7 of the book focuses on how justice systems can control drug markets without mass incarceration. In the next two videos, I'll turn to what can happen when health and justice systems work together effectively.